Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
And now it's time to... Hey! Hey! Come here. I said, come here. Jason! Recycle.
Reboot, reuse, recycle, right? Isn't that what
Yeah. Look, here's what's important. Because they will have read the name of the show. Mm-hmm. They will have seen the logo. They will have heard the credits. Mm-hmm. What they don't know is that this is all thanks to our special Patreon producer, Dr. DNA. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thanks, Dr. DNA.
Dr. DNA has quested us with a very simple task. We are to watch a movie and then watch its remake.
Yes.
You might remember a show we did called Duology Theater, where we watched a movie and its sequel. Mm-hmm. This is similar-ish, and that we're,
And that we'll be watching two films and comparing them.
Yeah, with these episodes will always come out in pairs. For example, this episode, as the title I'm sure suggested, is about the 1969 film True Grit. Mm-hmm. And we have some sections that we're going to go through just to sort of make it easier to fully appreciate this movie and compare it to the remake. I did a lot of thought, Tom, into like what are we gonna achieve here by doing this, by watching movies and their remakes?
Well, I think what I would assume the idea would be is to talk about which one is the better version and why, or if the two films can coexist because they're so different or different enough.
That's the thing, is that
because sometimes they are.
What do we feel even about remakes? Because it really does vary a lot.
It depends.
There are remakes that are better than the originals. There are remakes that feel like someone should go to jail for making them.
Mm-hmm. And there are others that kind of almost feel like companion pieces because they'll take one element that maybe wasn't explored in the other version and go into that.
And ultimately, I think people got very mad at remakes for a while, but we've been with them for a very long time.
They used to remake stuff even more frequently.
Yeah.
Like oh gosh, I mean a lot of
Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz. They made a bunch of those.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's an adaptation.
Maltese Falcon is a remake.
Right.
Ben-Hur, I believe, is a remake.
I think that a remake is a neutral idea, I think.
Yeah, particularly if they're adaptations, like True Grit is. True Grit's adapted from a novel.
Yes, and so I think ultimately there is nothing we need to... there isn't meaning. There isn't a deeper meaning. I guess that's where I was getting at, is like, what does this show need to accomplish in terms of talking about remakes?
I don't think it needs to say...
concept.
Yeah, I don't think we need to come to any kind of conclusion about the concept of remakes. It's just sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, and so this is probably just going to be some fun.
Yeah,
I do think we're gonna. What I am interested in is when we get to the remake portion. When we start talking about the remake and what it means versus what the original means, we're gonna learn probably. I think what makes it interesting is when a remake is done way later, we get to sort of see how the morals of our time have changed, or of that time has changed, what it says about us, because we're telling the same story in a new era, and our sensibilities are different. So I think we're going to get a lot of interesting stuff there going forward. But I don't know. Mostly we're going to have some chuckles, right?
Yeah, it's going to be some chucks. We're going to have some grins, some gigs.
Yeah, grins and gigs. Anything else? Just those three?
I think just those three.
All right. Let's dive into fucking True Grit then.
Yeah, man.
This is directed by who directed this?
Henry Hathaway.
Okay, some guy.
Nobody you would immediately think. Like you would.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
guess like I don't know, John Ford. No.
Yeah, no. The motherfucker's done like 70 films, though.
Of course he has. All these motherfuckers.
Yeah. Let's start with the plot, I guess, for people who haven't seen it. I would say, do people need to see this?
I think people need to watch one version of True Grit. It's a good story.
Yeah. I'll say this at the top of it. You can watch the version that doesn't have a white supremacist in it. Like that's John Wayne, you know.
Oh.
Not great. He's not great.
No, he's not great.
He's not great. I mean, he's dead, so
he's super dead.
You're not gonna give him money by
dead
seeing
for like
this.
way long. Most people in this movie are dead.
His last movie had a young Ron Howard in it. That's how dead he is.
This movie has young Robert Duvall and young Dennis Hopper in it.
Yeah.
He's next level dead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's so
he's
super
been dead for like 1,000 years.
Yeah. So you're not giving him any money. I don't think. I don't know how the afterlife works.
I don't think you get money.
Yeah.
I think you may get like a preloaded card when you first show up, but I don't think you can refill it.
The remake, of course, that we'll get to is the Coen Brothers remake done. I don't know when. Recently, right? Like 2000. It feels like a 2014, 2015,
2010.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 11 years ago. That sucks.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah. But this, had you seen this movie?
Yes. But not. I don't think since I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those movies that like I'm very familiar with the box art because it lived on my parents' shelf.
Right. I hadn't seen this movie. I haven't seen too many John Wayne films. I had seen his final one, the Ron Howard one, The Shootist.
The Shootist, yeah.
Which I enjoyed.
It's a good movie.
I've enjoyed 100% of the John Wayne films I've seen, which are 2 films. This and The Shootist.
You haven't seen The Searchers?
I don't think so. I'm not a Westerns guy.
And
even this movie... all right, let's get into the plot.
Okay.
For people who don't know.
Yeah.
You want to tell it? You want to say the plot? Should we say it together at the same time?
Yeah, we should just shout it. We should try to drown each other's voices out.
Okay.
No, I'll
Plot fight!
Plot fight! So the movie is about Maddie Ross, who is, I think, 14. She's a young teenager. Her father gets murdered by this real piece of shit named Tom Chaney.
Yeah.
And nobody seems terribly interested in catching him. Because we're in, I forget when this takes place. It's in the old goddamn West.
There's cowboys and shit.
It's
There's
fucking cowboy time, man. When you could just ride off into the mountains and just nobody would ever find you.
We're still like battling with Native Americans. Like,
and they're both Rooster Cogburn and LaBeef are Civil War veterans, so it's like the 1880s.
Yeah.
So she hires this real cantankerous coffin nail of a son of a bitch named Rooster Cogburn.
Right.
To track, he's a marshal. She hires him to track down Chaney and bring him to justice specifically for her father's murder. And they encounter this other guy named LaBeef, who's a Texas Ranger who is also hunting Chaney, but because Chaney killed a senator and like the senator's favorite dog, I think.
Right.
So at first she's like, well, all right, yeah, sure. You seem to be a person of means and skill that's a little more put together than Rooster Cogburn. And then he's like, well, no, I'm going to take him back to Texas so he can hang for killing the senator. And she's like, nope.
He's also a weird creep.
He is. He's a weird blowhard that like, there's a scene where he first meets her and they're talking and she starts dunking on him because he talks a mean game, but he's really just kind of full of hot air.
He's kind of a fuck up.
And then he has this incredible line. It's like, I had a mind to steal a kiss from you, and now I just assume smack you or whatever. And then she's like, oh, either proposition sounds equally as distasteful, something like that. Basically,
Yeah.
She fucking torches his ass every single chance she gets.
Yes.
And he's an extremely easy target. Later on in the film, like she and Rooster Cogburn are just taking turns rinsing his ass.
Yeah, he just sucks. He's a lot of talk, but he's clearly doesn't have that much experience. He fucks up that turkey that he shoots.
He fucks up a lot. He does one good thing, and he fucks everything else up.
Yeah. It's the point of his character.
Yeah. He is a man who appears to have true grit, whereas Rooster Cogburn actually does, even though he's not the most amiable person to hang around with.
He loves to pull a cork, as is said about him. A lot of great lines in this.
Oh, the dialogue in this movie fucking rips.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good. Especially Maddie Ross, the little girl. Like, all of her lines are great.
Yes. There's
the
also
actress who plays her, Kim Darby, is great in this movie.
Shout out to the line, you could still throw a cat through the south wall, when they're talking about the quality of a house.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great lines, and then a lot of lines where I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah, there's a couple of bits of like dated slang where it's like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck. Also, I love the line, I ain't scared of no booger man. They keep talking about a booger man.
Oh, yeah.
And that got me.
Mm-hmm. Because it's fun.
Yeah, you're no bigger than a corn nubbin. Which I am going to use that line on a cop, hopefully.
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, I mean, the three of them just set off into the... I don't know where they are.
Yeah, they
I
into
think
the west.
it's like Oklahoma, Wyoming, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
It's in the Midwest. They head out to find Cheney. They track Cheney to this notorious gang, the Ned Pepper gang. Ned Pepper is played by Robert Duvall. Just looking incredible. He's like 28 in this movie. It's amazing.
He's looking like a real dirtbag. Dirtbag Duvall.
Dirtbag Duvall. It's a slight upgrade from his look in To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
So they basically have to kill Ned Pepper's entire gang to get Cheney. In the conflict, LaBeef is killed. Maddie gets bit by a rattlesnake, and Rooster has to ride her back into civilization. Rides her pony to death to get her there, but gets her there. She recovers, and they become BFFs for life.
And she's like, I will grant you the greatest honor. I will bury you next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it was a simpler time.
It was a simpler time, yeah. You could just go in the mountains and disappear from the law forever. You could just change your name and grow a mustache, and they would never fucking find you.
Oh, yeah. Fucking fantastic.
It's incredible being alive in the 19th century.
Yeah. Also, I guess, spoilers for True Grit, a film from the 70s. Well, 60s, technically.
69.
Yeah, it's the 70s.
Is it? I feel like 69 is still the 60s.
No, it's just like... It's just like, whatever.
Would you call 1999 the 2000s?
I round up.
Or is 1999 the most 90s year ever?
Honestly, I would say that's the 2000s in a way. I know what you're getting at, which is that it's the way generations work is you shouldn't round up, you should round down. Because I would say 2001 is still the 90s in its own way. Because you're coming off of the 90s and you still have 90s sensibilities.
And we're still getting a lot of movies that look like Mystery Men in 2001. Yep.
And then something happened and we changed.
Yeah.
But like it's still like
Lord of the Rings came out. That's what it was.
That's what it was. Well, you look at like the early 80s and you're like, oof, yeah, you're still hungover from the 70s. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, you watch like a movie from 1981 and you're just offended.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the 70s. This is bullshit.
Right. It's like watching the first season of The X-Files where it's like, ooh, the 80s is like You're still like a little singed from the 80s.
Scully's big shoulder pads.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. It's still there haunting them.
Chef kiss.
Same with fucking Star Trek. Oh, the Star Trek is the 80s. Started in the 80s. TNG, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
What were we talking about? The movie True Grit.
Mm-hmm. You were saying something about this being from you were saying spoilers for a movie from the 70s, and then we just went to Jupiter.
Yeah, that's
after
fine.
that.
That's gonna happen. Look, that's gonna happen. I guess let's get into the next section. We covered the plot. Let's talk about the people. This is where we discuss, the cast. This is, of course, a John Wayne film.
Mm-hmm. One of his. This is the only movie he won an Academy Award for.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
We mentioned fucking Robert Duvall. Dennis Hopper is the one that I literally had to rewind because I missed it. Because he's like a long hair.
Right, but
he gets his fucking fingers cut off.
Dennis Hopper was a long hair for a good portion of his career.
I know I know. It's just he's so young.
It
just passed me right by.
It's doubly shocking because he is like in his 20s in this episode, but also he is still visibly Dennis Hopper.
I like that you call it an episode, but yeah.
In this episode, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's what I love is like these eras where it's like them working with John Wayne and they're just starting out, and it's like, oh, you guys are going to become legends, and you don't even know it yet. I love that shit.
Yeah,
where it's like
apparently Wilford Brimley is in this movie somewhere in an uncredited role. Yeah.
Oh man,
I definitely didn't see him.
We should probably mention Glenn Campbell, who plays LaBeef. Glenn Campbell is a singer.
Yes.
He did Rhinestone Cowboy.
He sure did.
He did the title song to this. He was nominated for that. But it makes sense, and we'll definitely talk more about this in the remake. But he's a pretty boy, right? He's a singer.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like the dashing, handsome one whose character is not actually all that great.
Yeah, who's also a creep. He looks good, and then he's all talk. It's
right. He's all talk, no substance.
It just it works really well. Who else is in this? I guess we should talk about John Wayne. Our next section is about performance, which is just about how we like the movie and stuff. And I just want to like I said, I've liked all 2 John Wayne films I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a good actor, is he?
Well, it depends on what aspect of acting you're talking about. John Wayne is only ever John Wayne. I will agree with you there.
His acting technique is to yell.
I think that's just how he speaks.
Yeah, he yells all his lines.
He does. He shouts a lot. I
think he can play drunk.
Yeah. I think John Wayne is good at acting in the sense of he is believably existing in this world, if that makes sense. Like he doesn't feel out of place to me in any of these movies. It's like, no, this is where you belong.
I guess it's and we're in talking about performance. This is talking about quality. Mm-hmm. I think it's because even this classic Western still feels dated as a Western. For example, the opening credits, it's such a dated way to open a movie because it's just how Westerns open, with a song and those credits. Mm-hmm. So he fits in the time. But like watching this, like for example, the ending, which is a very emotional ending where she's asking him, like she's saying, I want you to be buried next to me. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of, he's supposed to be touched by it. He's supposed to be this hardened, like gruff cowboy who she kind of finds her way into his heart. It really doesn't read because he's John Wayne. It's like she's acting. It's like acting with a horse. It's like it's got 2 emotions and that's about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's just very funny because obviously he's a classic actor.
Yeah.
But it's just like, oof.
Well, that sounds all right. I'm going to get up on my horse here and just ride off into them mountains.
Yeah.
After she's just like very
He says, come see a fat old man sometimes. Freeze frame. And it's just like, whoa.
This fat old guy is going to jump his fat old horse over a fence.
How epic would it be if he died doing that jump?
Yeah.
Like he slams the horse into the fence, flings off, and his head hits a rock.
Both. Kills the horse and himself.
Yeah. But I absolutely get the appeal when he says stuff like, fill your hand, you son of a bitch. And it's like, oh yeah, John Wayne saying that shit. I get it. When he's fucking drinking and playing poker with that dude and the cat, that is, I've had that exact night before.
With a cat named General Price.
Yeah, big fan of his home life. And that's the thing, is like he can play oddly quirky by still, because he's kind of a blank slate. He's good. You can't tell, like, it never occurred to me that he would be, but he's good at comedy.
Yeah.
Falling off that horse and like pretending to be drunk.
And like the look when they call him on it, when he's like drinking, he's like, "Now Ned Pepper's camp is just down there. We're gonna rush in tomorrow morning." And she's like, I forget exactly what she says, but she basically says, "Well, I'm not gonna talk to you when you're drunk, man. It's pointless." And then the beast's like, "You're right. Yeah, it's you get one over on a fool, you're not winning anything."
Right.
And it cuts back to a shot of him where he's about to take another swig, but then he kind of like glares at them and puts the cap back on it and shoves it in his pocket.
Right. I like
it's a funny little moment.
The drinking arc where she says something like, "I wish you wouldn't drink," or like, "I'll do this if you promise to not drink." And it's like, dude, look, if he stops drinking, he will literally explode.
Yeah.
Like
this guy has been wet since you met him. Like,
yeah.
He's just maintaining right now.
And they do the thing where they don't try to make it seem like she's going to heal him. You know, like that's
No.
By the way,
she does a little bit.
Oh yeah, well that's the point. It's like a little bit.
She does a little bit, but she doesn't, fundamentally change who he is. Mm-hmm. But I think part of it is also there's not much in him that really needed to be redeemed. It was just there was the dude, the hero, but just hidden in this gruff bastard exterior, I guess.
Right. Yeah, and that goes to the whole themes of the movie, I think. I also want to shout out to Kim Darby. She's the one who plays the girl.
Plays Maddie, yeah.
Maddie. She she has an X-Files episode?
Yes.
Yeah, season 8, I believe, or 7. Mm-hmm. So we haven't gotten to her in our other show, but she's still kicking. I was surprised? I looked up her credits. She is at least not credited to be in the 2010 True Grit, which is weird to me.
She is or is not?
She isn't. Whenever you remake something, you always stick the original actors in it, right?
I don't think the Coens do that.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, no, everybody does it. It's just a thing people do. Because it's like, put them in as an extra. Who gives a shit?
Who cares?
She was also in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. So she's had a rich career since True Grit, is my point.
Oh, man, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's killing it.
Yeah, she's great. What I'm reading, this is pretty interesting. She was actually 21 when they made this movie.
Wow.
And she's playing a 14-year-old.
She looks like a 14-year-old.
She does, yeah. I would not. I mean, the haircut does a lot, but
yeah, they give her like the tremendous bowl cut.
Yeah, they give her the bowl cut everyone had in second grade.
A real bummer. If you were say in your 20s, it sure would be a bowl cut you wouldn't want.
Fucking bummer.
You definitely have to be paid to be having that bowl cut. Poor. And I guess it's the 60s, late 60s, so. I don't know what they were rocking back then, so maybe it worked. The part where she runs into fucking Tom Chaney when she gets kidnapped. But like her performance, you can tell the adrenaline just rushing into her. She's really good. And I mean, yeah, it makes sense. She's an older actress for it. So she had that ability. Because, yeah, she looks young. And so I just thought, like, this is an incredible young actress. Yeah, fucking great performance.
Yeah, she's excellent.
Yeah.
And Glenn Campbell's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah, he took that rock really well.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking we'll talk about this next episode.
Head caved in.
Yeah. That shocked me. I don't remember that from the remake, but we'll get into that.
The endings are
different.
Pretty different. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the next one.
I don't know which one is closer to the book though, because I've not read it.
Yeah, I'm not going to read the book. There's 2 movies.
Yeah, why the fuck would I do that? They already read it for me, and I can just watch that. It's like way less time.
Right, exactly. Did you see The Shootist?
I have seen The Shootist, but that's another one that's like a lot of John Wayne I saw when I was pretty young. Going
back to that, I bet John Wayne gives a better performance in that because of the nature of that movie.
Probably. He's a gunfighter dying of cancer, and then he died of cancer like right after that.
Yeah, he knew he was dying of cancer when he was making it, I believe. And he's way older in that. Yeah, they literally, in the scene where they, like, the opening of that film, they talk about, like, they go into the history of this fictional gunfighter, and they just show old John Wayne movies.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so it's surprisingly, like, super meta.
Yeah.
Also, Ron Howard just sucks the joy out of that movie, but that's because young Ron Howard is just exhausting. An exhausting person.
Ron Howard, I like a lot of his movies. Boy, is he an unappealing actor.
Yeah. No, he made the right pivot.
Yeah, he absolutely did.
Yeah,
and yeah, he's a smart guy. More power to him.
Good
Great
on
narrator.
you,
He's
Ron.
perfect as the narrator on Arrested Development.
Oh,
I just don't need to see him.
No one does.
Nobody needs to see
young Ron Howard. No.
Ron
Not
Howard
interested.
at any age. Nobody
Sure.
needs to see Ron Howard.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we just the voice, great voice. Yeah. Keep your fucking face out of my shows.
Get your goddamn banshee face out of my TV.
Oh, poor Ron.
Yeah, I'm coming down hard on Ron Howard.
Whatever.
I don't know. He's fine. I know
He's
a
doing
fan.
all right.
I know he's a fan of the show, and he's definitely going to hear this.
Yeah.
I don't mean it's just jokes, Ron. I don't mean it.
Look, he's doing great. He's riding high off of Hillbilly Elegy, so he's got that going for him.
Yeah.
He's doing great. You're great, Ron.
I want to believe that it was like a Gus Van Sant Psycho situation where he's like, "Fine, I'll jump on this goddamn grenade." But I know that it's not.
I don't think
like
so.
You watch all of like Ron Howard's filmography, you're like, no, he did this in earnest.
Oh yeah. No. Look, he's Ron Howard.
Yeah, that's all he knows how to be is earnest.
Yeah. Director of Ed TV.
Yes.
Yeah. Look, he can't win them all. That's what we're learning about Ron.
Yeah.
And it's always been that way.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes you make Apollo 13. Other times you make Ransom.
Yeah. Yeah. Both. Yeah. Sometimes you make a classic film, and sometimes you make an even more classic
Another
film.
classic film. That's true.
Like
Ransom was a weird pick.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know how watchable Ransom is.
I don't think we need to discover that in this particular podcast.
Let's not. Let's move
But I
on.
am curious about the watchability of Ransom. I will say that. I'm Ransom curious. All right. So we've talked about the plot. We talked about the people in it. We've more or less talked about the performances. I guess the main question is, do you like this film?
I do, yeah. And I wanted to push back a little bit more against you on John Wayne not being a good actor. I think John Wayne is good at performing. He just doesn't have the ability to play too many different kinds of characters.
Yes. There's a lot of actors like John Wayne.
Right.
he is an action actor.
Yeah, he's like Arnold. He's like Arnold. Like
yes,
Arnold's
but
good at being on camera, but Arnold only plays a couple of kinds of characters.
Yeah, you should watch Maggie. I haven't watched Maggie in a while, but I remember being impressed that Arnold could play roles like that. But I also haven't seen it in a while, so it might be a fucking clown show.
Fair, yeah.
But like, I would say that Arnold has more range than John Wayne.
I would agree.
Yeah,
but like, he's
that type. He's Stallone. Although Stallone, I also think of has better range.
Stallone has more range. Burt Reynolds, let's say.
Burt Reynolds. That's a great comparison.
Burt Reynolds is like one thing.
A late Harrison Ford type.
Old Harrison Ford, where he just doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say? Fine.
Yeah, I mean,
we gotta get those cowboys versus these. What is this movie?
He's got real grandpa charm, where he's got that weird smile, and he looks like he's gonna give you a noogie. And then he's got that grandpa racism.
Are we talking about John Wayne now?
John Wayne. Okay. We're talking about John Wayne.
We're not talking about Harrison Ford.
No, Harrison Ford does not look like he'll give me a noogie. Harrison Ford does not give me that impression at all. He'll I don't know what he'll give me.
He'll give you a box full of all of your stuff to take home with you when you leave his house.
Yeah, because I will bring my stuff to his house.
Yeah.
He might give me like weed.
That's true, yeah.
Because he is stoned. He's a stoned man.
I would be too if I was Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
So all I would do is I would be fucking high as shit flying airplanes.
Yeah. Look, I've only seen 2 John Wayne movies, is my point. And just watching this, which is like the height of John Wayne, it was still
this
just
was
like,
actually
man,
toward the
he's
end of his career. But yeah.
Oh, okay. It was just like, man, he's just barking his lines.
He really is.
Yeah.
He is very intimidating.
Yeah, and it works.
Or just he's like large. He's such a big presence.
Yeah, it works in the context of this.
It works in the context of this genre too. Like he is so married to his image that it's not weird for me to see John Wayne as a cowboy. It's weird for me to see John Wayne in like 1970s New York. I don't want that.
Right. And of course, yeah, nobody wants that. It would have been amazing if they got him for Blazing Saddles. I know Mel Brooks offered him a role.
Oh man, I wonder if it was like the Slim Pickens role.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably in retrospect, now that we know more about John Wayne, probably for the best that he wasn't in that movie. But
yeah, he might have been laughing for the wrong reasons. If
yeah,
he had made that movie.
Exactly. But yeah, no, he does exactly. I don't want to get too much into this because I think when we discuss the remake, we're definitely going to be comparing the two. I have 2 questions for the remake, and I don't want to answer them now. I'll just pose them, which is that who works better in the role?
Who's the better rooster? Yeah.
Well, no, who works better in the role, and which rooster would you rather hang out with? Those are the 2 questions I want later to talk about. So we'll get around to that, but we should probably move to our final section.
Yeah, no, that sounds good to me.
Okay, well, we did the plot, we talked about the people, we talked about the performance, so let's talk about the purpose of this movie. What does this movie mean? I think this is important to talk about because this is going to set up when we talk about the remake and whether or not the remake was a success or what
the remake's mission even was.
Yes, how do you define success?
It's not going to always be the same, I don't think.
No, not at all.
Depending on what movies we watch.
But this movie, it's called True Grit for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I assume the way I interpreted it is that term basically just means bravery in the face of injustice.
It's like somebody who is just like they're real. Like they're the stuff of the earth, you know, or the salt of the earth rather. They're like they're their metal has been like tested and it is true, you know?
Right. Would you say that it has to do with morality? This is a big movie on morality.
Yes.
It's about this girl wants a specific justice. And she's being a little selfish for that reason, but she has been wronged and she wants justice, or I guess revenge.
Right. And it's like there's more to the idea of true grit, certainly the way that Maddie defines it, because it's also about being upright and being true to your word.
Yes.
And being dependable.
Yeah, because this is like a moral judgment on like capital punishment and stuff like that. It's just at the time what she deems to be right, which is that this man needs to be brought in and hung, and she's going to I think there's a part of her because, you know, she asks about the bounty hunters, and Cogburn, they're like, he's pretty fast and loose.
He's the meanest. Yeah. She's like, I want him.
Yeah. So she knows like this guy could probably be murdered.
I think it reflects. Yeah, I think it reflects the way her attitude shifts, because she comes in like, I want the meanest guy, because she's mad because the wound is still fresh.
Right. You're right.
Then she meets LaBeef, who is like a different version of that idea, where he looks the part, like we kept talking about.
Yeah.
If you saw those two standing next to each other, you'd probably pick LaBeef, because you're like, well, he's like half Rooster's age, and he's put together. Rooster's kind of a wreck.
Right.
But then as she travels with them, she learns that Rooster, even though he's kind of cantankerous, not really that badly though, because he really enjoys her company for the most part.
Yeah.
But he
calls her little sister.
Calls her little sister or sis. Yeah, he is drunk most of the time, and he does just kill people. Like he will shoot somebody for any reason, pretty much.
Right.
He has a more flexible definition, a flexible sense of morality that kind of pushes against her initially, but then as she's traveling with him, she realizes that LaBeef kind of represents a false version,
right,
of true grit, whereas Rooster, even though she doesn't agree with him morally on everything he does, like
there's like a consistency.
He's consistent. He's dependent. He's not a coward. He doesn't talk shit that he can't back up. Like, he is who he presents himself to be. It's just he doesn't look the way she pictured it, and he doesn't have the same moral sensibilities that she expected somebody of that kind of character to have. Like, he really demonstrates his character, and LaBeef kind of demonstrates his lack of character. And it's sort of like the idea of, well, somebody who embodies this idea of true grit isn't always going to look like the way they're supposed to look in storybooks, or the way they look like she's like a pretty big on morality, so the way they look in the Bible or something, you know, he's going to look kind of like this asshole.
Right. And I would argue LaBeef slowly earns it.
LaBeef does. Yeah. LaBeef's not a bad guy. We've been shitting on him a lot.
Well, he's presented as a bad guy.
I disagree that he is.
Well, I don't mean evil. I mean like a shitty guy. Like him spanking her and like...
Yeah, he's not...
He's a creep.
Yeah.
He's a gross creep.
He sucks.
He sucks. He is possibly an evil guy, but from what we get from him, he's just a shitty guy.
Yeah, he just kind of sucks. Yeah.
And then at the end, he earns her respect, but he has to die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that, and that makes sense. The whole time, of course, the truth of the matter is that, like, at some point watching this film, you realize that the person with true grit is Maddie.
Yeah.
And you realize that early. Like, she's the ultimate...
make it very clear right out of the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what the movie is saying ultimately is that the idea of true grit, the being like not a coward, true to your word, as brave as you can be, do what you can, have some sort of consistent code. It's something you earn at different times in your life and in different conditions. Because Maddie and Rooster cannot be different people, but then you realize that they're extremely similar in that their core is they're built from the same thing. Mm-hmm. Something that LaBeef doesn't have, but you could argue sort of earns something that you see elements of for all the characters. Including I would argue the villains.
More so Ned.
I was about to say Ned, mostly because Ned seems to have principles and is like, we're not going to harm this little girl, whereas Tom Chaney is just a drunken coward. Like the thing that he kills him over is so dumb, and it's supposed to be dumb. The reason Maddie's dad dies.
It's like, what is it, like a matter of $6 or something?
It's like it's like they walk out of a poker game and he's mad. And he's just like, don't tell me what to do, and like shoots him. Like it's like a drunken argument. And at the time watching it, I was like, oof, that's stupid. And then that's the point.
Yeah, it's the point. She stumbles into him going down to the river, and then when she meets him, he's not like this big booger man. He's just like kind of a fucking idiot. Like he's like, everything happens to me. It's like, oh, you're just kind of like a whiny asshole.
Right.
Like,
and again,
you're just kind of like irritating. You're not like, like this big evil being she probably built up she has been building up in her mind. And then when she finally meets him, he's just like some fucking guy.
Right. I would argue that the movie is of a time with its moral, because it's sort of saying that like morals, like morality aside, law aside, there's like a good type of person, and that's a person who's principled, who's quote unquote brave.
I think it's right and wrong, like like just simply that. Like,
well, yeah, but I would say that Ned still has it. They show degrees of it, even though he's a murderer. Like several of these people are murderers.
So's Rooster.
Yeah, so is Rooster.
Like,
I guess it's not
when we're introduced to him. It's in the middle of a court scene and going over its testimony. It's very clear he just murdered two guys.
Right.
The story he tells is like unbelievable and not supported by the evidence.
I guess what I'm saying is that it implies a tier of people that transcends like anything necessarily, where there's cowards and then there's like brave people or moral people, and I think that's a false lesson ultimately.
Yes, yeah. It you either have it or you don't is definitely a false lesson, because I think LaBeef's the only person who really like earns it in the movie.
It's okay to be scared. It's okay to fuck up. It's natural. And like this, there's the idea that this character Maddie is just so on the ball immediately in her life is like, it's I don't know, it's a silly idea, but I get the idea that they're going with is that these people have a specific core that they all share. That she, of course, has more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gets tested more than anyone's too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because she's like
every scene almost is like.
Well, she's a teenage girl in this time, and so like everybody sort of talks down to her, and the whole idea is she has to work, 4 times as hard.
Yeah,
and she does, and at the very end, he bets on her life, which is a funny way of putting it, but like he's just like. The lawyer comes and is after she's been bit by a snake.
Oh, that's right. The lawyer comes. Who is? Did you recognize his voice?
No.
That's Piglet. Piglet from Winnie the Pooh.
That's fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
So Piglet
he was just in shit.
Yeah.
He plays Jack the Ripper in a Star Trek episode.
Does he?
He does.
That's great.
And it's Piglet. He's saying this Jack the Ripper shit in Piglet's voice. I'm like, this is fucking me up.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, that's John Fiedler.
Sure.
Or Fiedler.
It's Piglet.
He was in 12 Angry Men. So like
he's Piglet in
he's
that
a little
too.
Piglet. He's Piglet, yeah.
He's Piglet. You can't be Piglet and not just be Piglet for the rest of your life. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But he's like, this girl's totally going to die, and he's like, I'll bet everything I just got paid on her making it.
He bets everything and the cat.
And the cat. He doesn't take the bet. The lawyer, Piglet doesn't take the bet. Because he's more being funny, but he does it seriously. So it's like, you're really betting on her life. But the whole point is that, he saw this in her the moment she crosses the water, where he's like, she reminds me of me, that she has what he has, which is that, like, she's a fighter.
Well, it's at least apparent that, she's not just talking. Like, she's not full of shit.
Right.
She means to do what she said she means to do.
All right, going back to the moral, I think what it is that this mentality is often what makes people assholes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
This is like the entire thinking behind the GOP. Like, it's I'm going to work for what I have. I'm getting ahead. We're not going to give people handouts. They're going to earn it. You need true grit to get ahead. It's that. This is a really well told story about it. But it's definitely, like, the moral is definitely, I think, wrong. Ultimately,
it depends. I think you could make the argument that LaBeef's character means that this movie isn't necessarily saying that you're either born with true grit or you're not, and that's it. Because LaBeef,
no, but it's you
it.
have to get ahead with this specific personality type, and it's the I don't take shit from nobody.
Maybe I think it's more about, you can definitely. I mean, that's definitely valid. That is a valid way to look at this movie.
I should say that. I think this is. I don't know if what I'm saying is something that people would get from the movie. I think the movie's generally positive. Like, I came out of it with a good feeling, but like when you really like think about it, I think the moral is flawed.
Maybe, yeah. I think it's, to me, it's more about like a general sense of right and wrong. So it's less about there's either people with good hearts or people with bad hearts, and you have to not take any shit. It's like, no, you just have to keep doing the right thing and keep being true to that, and
I should say
the people around you will see that.
Yeah, I think it's more that this is where you start to go down a bad road.
Oh, I completely agree that your reading of this movie is valid and is probably the way that many people read this movie.
Right. But I think you're also right that the intention of this film isn't necessarily that. It's just to show, I think the main point of this film is to just show this idea that transcends all these different types of people.
Yeah, exactly.
This sort of connection. Maybe it isn't. I don't know. Maybe at the time they weren't thinking in that sense. They were just like, this has appeal because it's about a little girl teaming up with John Wayne. And that is compelling. Like, that alone is compelling, right?
Yeah. Like a buddy cop way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, it's either this or we're thinking of doing a dog. But we went with this.
Yeah.
Maybe the cat. Maybe they're going to do the cat at first.
Sure. He teams up with a cat. That's what won fucking Art Carney an Oscar.
Yeah. Sure. Wait, what?
Yes.
All right, moving on.
Movie about him going on a road trip with a cat.
There's a movie about that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I guess I'll have to see that.
Yeah, you probably should. It's an Oscar-winning movie.
Why? Why is it Oscar-winning?
I don't know, Dave. They probably figured they weren't going to get a chance to give Art Carney one again.
Oh, no.
Which I think might have been a little bit from what was behind this movie. Behind John Wayne winning for this movie anyway, because he's fine. Like, he's John Wayne. He's not any more John Wayne than he was in all of his previous movies.
Oh, that was actually going to be a question of mine. Is this... Okay. Yeah, I'm sure he's the same. in terms of a role that he's playing, this felt complex.
Yes. Yeah.
He couldn't. That's why I was like, man, he can't quite do it. But it did feel like more complex than what I imagine his other movies are, because he does not play a heroic character in this. He plays like kind of a shitty. Like the first scene is him in the court, just sort of bending the truth. And he's just like clearly like this old guy who's got the drinking problems and is out of shape. And this is about the idea again of him having like, because that's the thing, is both him and Maddie are both kind of like physically outmatched.
Yeah,
and that's the point. Is that
they're both at the age where nobody respects you, at least in that
exactly.
way, or in most ways actually, where people just don't respect you.
Exactly, but they both have that true grit. They're at two different points in life. They're both points where people have written them off, but the idea is them both proving themselves to be capable.
Yeah,
and so John Wayne is often referred to as a fat old man in this, and so it was like, this isn't the John Wayne I assume most of his career he was like.
No.
Like I said, this is like the most iconic he is for me, but this isn't what I imagine most of his career is. So it does seem like a more complex role for him, the same way the Shootist is.
Yeah
It's about dealing with age. So I don't know. I guess my question is this the most complex role, or one of the more complex roles for him?
It's definitely one of the more. Yeah.
Okay. Like the scene where he's hanging out with the cat is like genuinely endearing.
Yeah. No, it's one of his more interesting characters for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I get it. I get why they gave him the award for this, because like you said, they probably were like, he's on his way out.
Yeah.
This is probably peak him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about old cowboy with one last fucking adventure in him. Pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That's it.
Yeah. He's real gritty.
He's true gritty.
Yeah, he's true gritty. Robert Duvall dies.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. God damn it. Fucking Dennis Hopper. Oh, God. Just if I don't know, if you haven't watched this movie, you should probably check it out, but at least watch Dennis Hopper's scene.
Yeah. Watch him get stabbed.
Yeah, super stabbed, and he has a dramatic death. And again, it's Dennis Hopper, like, showing that it's like, oh man, this guy's going someplace.
He's doing a scene.
Yeah, with
John Wayne.
Fucking John Wayne. Who's again, he's like a McDonald's statue. Like he's just like fucking, he's stiff and he does like weird gestures with his fucking arms, and he's like,
yeah, he does. That's just John Wayne.
Yeah. He does what he knows, and he's doing it fine. It's great.
Yeah, he's leaning into it.
All right. Any more thoughts about True Grit?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Yeah. So I guess next time you'll hear from us in this show, we'll be covering the Coen Brothers remake.
The 2010 starring Jeff Bridges.
And then we'll be doing another movie in its remake. I know what it is already, Tom. You don't. I'll tell you when we stop recording.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's exciting, I think. It's going to be a lot different. Like you said at the start of this, or I don't know if we were recording, this is an interesting start because we've both seen, at this point, the remake of True Grit.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, a little hint of what the next episode is going to be.
Sneak peek of the next episode.
This movie is shockingly like the Coen Brothers one.
They're very similar.
Yeah, it's practically the fucking Psycho remake.
Yeah, there's a lot of identical dialogue.
Yeah, whereas the next one that we cover, not so much, Tom.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. But until then, thank you so much to Dr. DNA.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. DNA.
Yeah, I'm very excited to really get into this series.
Yeah.
So,
let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it up, you know?
Mm.
Let's get gritty. Let's cover ourselves with grits. Smear grits on us.
Let's call Gritty.
Yeah.
The mascot.
Dr. DNA did this through our Patreon. If you're interested, you can go to patreon.com/GamefullyUnemployed. We have exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We have a tier where you can have your own podcast produced, such as this one.
Yes.
There's also a We Just Watched tier where you can have custom We Just Watched episodes. There is a tier where you watch movies with us every Friday night. There's all sorts of stuff you want.
So many tiers.
So many tiers.
Falling like rain.
Yeah.
We also have a store, tpublic.com/stores/gamefullyunemployed, where you get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do it. Check it out.
Do it.
Do.
All right. That's it.
All right. Fine.
Bye.
Bye.
That's not my fault. I'm just stating a fact. This guy changes his own motor oil. That's okay, but trashing it here is not. It's not. Ugh.